We're sort of compatriots in this effort to bring Canada into the United States. It should be multiple states, whatever sort of arrangement gives Republicans the most Senate seats possible.
Yeah.
That's how President Trump should do it.
And I think
we could make it like Alaska East,
yeah.
I guess.
That's not a bad
Yeah,
idea.
but again, non-voting delegates to
Yes.
the House. They
Yeah,
don't
or
get
we
two
can
senators.
take Alberta and they can get the rest of it.
Yeah.
Or we can gerrymander the hell out of it, too. That's it.
We absolutely should gerrymander it either
That-
way, no
that-
matter what.
Let's think about that. Like a good gerrymandering could work.
I think what it reveals, all of this, Trump trolling about the tariffs thing and being like, I'm going to annex Canada and everything, is that like Donald Trump, more than any politician in history, understands like the power and the theater of humiliating your opposition.
Yeah.
Yes.
And no one in politics, and Smug encapsulates this well in his whole diatribe on,
Well, that's
on Canada.
basically the way he rolls.
Is the politics of humiliating your opponents is a very powerful tool when you're the president-elect of the United States, the leader of the free world.
Totally.
And we should feel more comfortable doing that, especially in a jocular fashion. Look, at the end of the day, like, they are our neighbors, but like, you got to give them a little bit of sometimes.
I don't have to tell you Americans are ready for what's next. Moving beyond the hardships of inflation and economic anxiety towards building a future, a better future for our families. Ensuring greater access to more affordable energy that powers daily lives, reliable energy that fuels innovation and economic growth, and the abundant energy that keeps our nation safer and more secure. It's all within our grasp. We'll do this together, building a brighter future for us, powered by America's oil and natural gas resources. You can learn more about all of this at api.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
Just a catching strays over here.
You're in for a hell of a show.
Keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs.
It's time for our main event.
Good Thursday to you, and welcome back to the Ruthless Variety Program. I'm Josh Holmes, along with Comfortably Smug, Michael Duncan, John Ashbrook, left to right across your radio dial. Fellas, there's a lot going on,
Yeah.
and you're trying to deal with transition stuff. Like we did our whole Tuesday episode, it felt like a Cork TV episode with all the things we were working on. And then, you got like nominees all over the place. They're trying to clean up some legislation in the House and the Senate planned for 2025. We're just trying to entertain around here.
Today's episode is going to be incredible.
Yeah.
Like, the content does not stop. Trump remains focused on annexing Canada.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of how better content we could get for this show.
Let's start there.
Yeah.
Let's start there. We have King of the Hill. We got some variety. There's games. There's fun. There's everything.
It's going to be a great episode.
But like one of the things that you really miss when you don't have Trump in the center of things, which we haven't here for 4 years until we're now about to have 4 straight years of the Trump show, is like just how hilarious things can get.
Yes.
And like the collective lack of imagination by the media and by the punditry or whatever, they're outraged about everything the first 4 years. I can detect a little sense of that. That's receding a little bit, at least among smart people, where they're like, "That's a Trump show. Let's see a little bit more."
Yeah.
Right.
Can't wait.
Rather than just like throwing up arms in outrage. Message was sort of lost on Canada, which we'll get into in a minute. But Donald Trump continues. And I know you guys did. You were on Jesse Waters last night talking about
The war on Canada.
the war on Canada.
Jesse takes that very seriously, and I think that's why we're sort of compatriots in this effort to bring Canada into the United States. It should be multiple states, whatever sort of arrangement gives Republicans the most Senate seats possible.
Yeah.
That's how President Trump should do it.
And I think
We could make it like Alaska East,
yeah.
I guess.
That's not a bad
Yeah,
idea.
but again, non-voting delegates to
Yes.
the House. They
Yeah,
don't
or
get
we
two
can
senators.
take Alberta and they can get the rest of it.
Yeah.
Or we can gerrymander the hell out of it, too. That's it.
We absolutely should gerrymander it either way, no matter what.
Let's think about that. Like a good gerrymandering could work,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you got Alberta, you got places that are like indistinguishable from North Dakota and South Dakota in the center of that country. And then you've got, the Quebecs.
Have you
Yeah.
guys been to Canada much?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used
It's
to.
a horrible place.
Well, it
No.
depends on where you're at.
It's a great place.
Everything is weird. The people are weird.
The
They're
people are
strange
very nice.
people.
The people
They're
are very
strange
nice.
people. They eat strange foods.
Can you
not true.
elaborate on
Yeah,
that?
Putin's disgusting, and they get like offended when you tell them the truth, and you're like, Putin is disgusting. Just have ketchup with your fries, bro. Why are you doing this to yourself?
Have you ever been to a nice place where you're fishing in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, well, I went through Alaska, which was beautiful. I mean, gorgeous state.
What about Tim Hortons? You don't like Tim Hortons?
I mean, they're okay. I prefer Duncan, American-made stuff.
Yeah.
But I went through Alaska. I went to Canada. What's the closest one? Is it Alberta?
Well, you're talking. No. You're closest to what? I mean, on
Alaska.
the West Coast, you've got like.
Multiple provinces that border the United States.
He had a night out in
FYI.
he had a night out in Windsor across from Detroit, and he's like, I know Canada.
No, he's like,
Yeah.
oh, Canada.
No, I mean it was horrible. All the people are so strange. The very weak people.
Oh my God.
They're not good people either. You know.
That's outrageous. We
should colonize them, but don't let them vote. They're not Americans. You know, they'd be very weak Americans.
One of the best aspects of colonizing Canada would be that Trudeau falls under the purview of Kash Patel, and
Yes.
he can finally get to the bottom
Yeah.
of the Fidel Castro to Justin Trudeau handoff.
That's
I think
the
that's
thing.
really important, and I said it on Jesse Waters last night. I called him the Poutine Princeling.
Yeah.
Which he certainly is.
He is.
But
Very funny.
I think what it reveals, all of this, Trump trolling about the tariffs thing and being like, I'm going to annex Canada and everything, is that like Donald Trump, more than any politician in history, understands like the power and the theater of humiliating your opposition.
Yeah.
Yes.
And no one in politics, and Smug encapsulates this well in his whole diatribe on,
Well, that's
Canada.
basically the way he rolls.
Is the politics of humiliating your opponents is a very powerful tool when you're the president-elect of the United States, the leader of the free world.
Totally.
And we should feel more comfortable doing that, especially in a jocular fashion. Look, at the end of the day, like, they are our neighbors, but like, you got to give them a little bit of shit sometimes.
Well, you have to, especially when they got on a line.
Yeah, and also, you know what they control, this maple syrup reserve, the strategic reserve of maple syrup? They're the damn...
There's a strategic.
They are,
reserve.
It's true.
Dude,
It's
they
true.
are the De Beers of the maple syrup industry.
Like maple syrup in America would cost like 10 cents a bottle if it wasn't for Canada messing around with it.
We make maple syrup in Vermont, and New
and-
Hampshire,
yeah.
and everywhere else. There are maple trees all over our country. We don't need the
Not
Canadians.
nearly as enough as they do, and that's the other thing is when
So
we
just clear cut it.
That's the
Are
thing.
you arguing against the tariffs?
I'm saying we go into Canada
Take their
and we
trees.
colonize them, right? We tell the people, stay in your igloos. Everything is under control. We shoot all their bears. We shoot all their deers. We skin them. Food prices are going down.
skin
We
them.
take all their maple trees, right? All of them. We just sap the hell out of all of them. Maple prices go down.
What's really funny-
America's
Drill,
back.
baby, drill.
What's really funny is like an underlying principle of everything to deal with that is always comes back to the bear rug he wants in his home.
I want it so
He's
bad.
like, we kill the bear, we skin them, of course.
For the precious skins, of course.
It always comes back to the bear skin rug.
He'd literally be in favor of invading a country if he got a rug out of it.
It'd be so much more satisfying if it was a Canadian bear, you know?
I'd be willing to
God.
serve as some kind of an ambassador to, more like a Puerto Rico. Like,
Yeah,
you don't want
yeah.
the Senate and the House involved in all of that.
Yeah, they don't vote. We just get all their stuff.
But just like presiding, just get their stuff.
Yeah.
Like we fish your walleye.
That's it. We take their fish. We take
They've
their
gotten
bears,
a little
their deer.
uppity, I will say. And look,
They're
I
super
grew
uppity.
up there. Like I spent summers in Canada. And
You notice they're uppity people.
No, it's gotten uppity. Like when I was a kid, there was like really no difference. They were like they knew what they were, and they knew what we were. More importantly, and it all sort of like we used gentle ribbing, and it was fun. And then they really got uppity.
Yeah. Canada is like the smarmy nerd, and America needs to just stuff them in lockers and bullying them around, make them remember that we run the show here.
I like that
It's North America. It's not North Canada. All right.
well, it turns out
Like
That's
everybody
great.
knows who's calling the shots here. We all know that if you don't tell the full story on your tax bill, you get audited. But when the IRS does it, they apparently just get good press. They're pushing their built-by-government direct file system engineered by Elizabeth Warren. And bureaucrats at the IRS have been claiming that taxpayers overwhelmingly love their new software. But Americans actually using the system are telling a different story. According to newly revealed documents, taxpayers find it, quote, creepy, invasive, and unsettling. These are the results the Biden-Harris administration gets after giving the IRS $80 billion taxpayer dollars and building this new software with absolutely no oversight. But President Trump is coming back, and he's going to shake up Washington, streamline it. And this is an excellent place to start. Americans don't want the IRS to control their lives, and they certainly don't need the government to be even more invasive. Learn more at protectingtaxpayers.org.
So it turns out that the president-elect sees the world the same way as you do, Smug.
Yeah.
When he tweeted out, "It was a pleasure to have dinner the other night with Governor Justin Trudeau of the great state of Canada," which, if you recall, our question of the day last week was, what would you name a state of Canada? Well, Donald Trump has answered the question for us.
Let them keep their name.
He would say keep their name, just, affiliate.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to seeing the governor twice in one tweet.
Yeah.
Again
Purposeful.
soon, so we may continue our in-depth talks on tariffs and trade, the result of which will be truly spectacular for all. Signed, DJT. And when he does that, he wants like a special annotation. Everybody knows, no, I wrote this myself.
He's like, I want you to know it was my joke to
Yeah.
call him governor twice.
Yeah.
Like, tell Justin from Canada it was me.
Having had the pleasure of watching him do those ones, when he adds the special DJT to it, like it's really like
the
He's
personal touch.
immensely proud.
It's like the emphasis. No, I said it.
He's a pure showman.
This
He
is
really
good.
is.
It's so good.
Well, it turns out Canada finds less humor,
Of course. Like you were just saying,
as one does.
they get so mad.
Gotten a little uppity about things.
It's always cold. You have to live in an igloo. These people are irate.
Expressing a lot of opinions. And there's a lot more dual citizenship than I'd prefer.
Yeah.
Frankly, I've got a ton of family members that have dual citizenship from the both of them. They're all kind of like lefty-leaning folks.
Of course.
Good people. But, like, they don't see the world the same way, and they don't live in our country. So, like, why would they?
Well, they lost their sense of humor because all of Canada's most talented comedians come to the United States.
They do.
Jim Carrey, right? Seth Rogen.
A crisp delivery, I've noticed, out of Canadian comedians. I like that.
Right.
I like that.
And so that's why the ones who end up staying are the uppity ones with no sense of humor.
They're the leftovers. That's
the-
every
well, the-
Canadian's just a leftover.
The only thing they have in Canada is jokes. I mean, the rest of life is so meaningless.
It is. It really
And
is.
they have to come here as a sort of a release.
My mom is probably going to murder me for this. Like, Dad's going to be laughing hysterically, but, like, she likes to keep the family peace when she can. And I do have family up there. But anyway, why don't we play the first clip here of the Canadian Green Party that has no chill about any of this situation, if you don't mind, Spaghettis.
Trump on his Truth Social this morning greeted the Prime Minister as the governor of the 51st state, something along that line. Have you seen that? Do you have any thoughts about that, about the
haven't seen
dynamics
it.
of the relationship?
I haven't seen that, but so I probably should comment. Just that with the Truth
But I
Social
will.
post of Donald Trump planting a Canadian flag on a Canadian mountain, I have to say that to the extent that this 51st state thing was a joke, it's not funny. And I find that pursuing it on social media makes me increasingly nervous. Mr. Trump has... we have to be very, very careful with the president-elect, and we have to pull together, I think, all opposition party leaders and premiers, all elements of the Canadian political establishment, such as we are, better pull together to make sure we don't create any cracks that allow
Come
Fox
on.
News or Mr. Trump's
Fox
social media to
News?
exploit us and say things about Canada that aren't true.
Oh no, the Canadian premiers. We're so worried about them. What are they going to do? Send in the Mounties? You're a joke country.
I'm the Mountie.
Like, I'm going to summon all the Canadian premiers. What? Who the hell cares about the Canadian premiers?
She violated the first rule of the internet, and that is the first person to get actually mad loses.
Bingo.
It is.
You
It's
know?
true.
She's like actually mad about it.
She is actually mad about it.
You
What she should
can't.
be mad is the fishing licenses that they provide for Americans when you go there, which are truly outrageous.
Yeah.
They're like one day, and you have to like mortgage your house to get the damn things.
Every fish in Canada belongs to America. Every single one.
It is pretty amazing. I mean, they started years ago where they were like, if you got like a DUI, first of all, the entire country is a bunch of drunks.
Yeah. I've heard that.
For real. Let's just be honest. They just are. And I'm not going
It's cold. What are you going to do except drink?
It snows every day. They sit in the igloo. They're a bunch of drunks.
I actually thought it was one of their more redeeming qualities, right up until the point where then they started stopping people who had ever been had like DUI or anything from ever getting into their country.
Really?
This is true.
Wow, really?
This is true.
But they're a country of drunks.
Right. So, like, the hypocrisy was apparent. It was more of a punitive thing. This is what I'm talking about by being a little uppity.
They got to be straightened out.
I defended him for like 30 years. I'm no longer defending these guys.
What's wild about that is that they let every Uzbek terrorist who wants to walk into their country free of charge.
They got a big terrorism
on
problem.
through.
They have a huge terrorism problem in Canada.
Do they?
It's true. Yeah, they actually do. They got a lot of radicals up there. And Justin Trudeau, I know this happened a couple months ago. Like some terrorist got killed in Canada, and he was like, "Oh, well, he was still a Canadian citizen. If your people are terrorists, they're gonna die. Like, let's be serious about this. America does whatever America gets to do, and Canada has always put up with it. Things aren't gonna change. I don't care how many angry little school teachers you put on TV, being like, "I'm gonna summon the premiers." What is this? You're a clown show. Fake country and a fake government. Get over it. Trump's in charge. Like, just be honest with yourself. Life is easier.
You guys want to hear the CBC?
Yeah.
It's like the Canadian Broadcasting Network.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, it's not clear why President Trump is going public with the annexation taunt, eh?
The A?
It could be. Well, and the problem is he's got like several different accents. The CBC is usually a little bit more British. But I like the like regular sort of center of the country accent better.
Don't they talk like French or something like that?
Well, in Quebec, it's
Quebecois.
just straight French.
Yeah.
But there's a very Euro vibe to like the.
That's why they're so weird, because they got a Euro vibe. They're weird people.
They speak with great diction. Mm-hmm. Right? Except, you know, you get to the
It's
center of
because
the
they're mad.
country.
Like, they're angry, so they're always enunciating.
But yeah, maybe. But like the center of the country is like very committed to like North Dakota on steroids.
Okay.
Right? Which is like I can kind of get on board with.
So
And
they're
actually-
the moderates on the ground. We arm.
right. These are if you had to get into a conflict,
There we go.
these are the people, the
Yeah.
moderates
All right.
that you would arm. So those people are more like it could be because Trudeau suggested Monday that Canada is prepared to take some sort of action against the U.S. if Trump imposes a punishing 25% tariff on all Canadian imports. That's like their thing.
What are they going to do? Are they just going to erase every Gordon Lightfoot song on the internet so nobody can listen to it? I mean, what is actually their... This is the thing. You guys are talking about maple syrup, but we can make that here.
Yeah.
Is it Canadian bacon? Just like
Yeah.
thick-cut pork?
John Candy.
Like, what is it that they're actually hanging over our heads?
And it's easy. If you don't want to pay the tariff, just surrender. When our
Yeah.
troops come marching across Niagara Falls, just put up the white flags. That's what they're good for. It comes naturally. to these
Canadian
people.
bacon.
They're French, anyways.
Canadian bacon is just ham, right?
It's ham.
Like that's just another fake thing.
We already have that.
Yeah.
So what are they going to hold back?
I don't know. Well, we do buy a lot of oil from Canada.
We have it here.
We have it here.
Now that President Trump is going to unleash American oil.
That's right.
on-
Well, I mean, listen, America has a wonderful history. If a country's got a lot of oil and some terrorists, we find a way to take control of that situation. You know?
Yeah.
I think Canada's next on the list.
I do think we would be greeted as liberators.
Yeah, 100%.
You
There
know?
are some of them that get the joke.
Yeah, they don't like their own government.
There are some people that get the joke, and I've noticed a couple of them. They're very anti-Trudeau, sort of like, you know, they want to have fun with this whole thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, let's have fun.
Yeah. This guy, Pierre Poliver.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
how
the
you
guy who
pronounce-
owns a bunch of libs, like
that
when they interview him.
He is very, very good.
I love that guy.
Yeah, very
We should try to get
well-spoken.
him. We should try to get him on the
We
program.
should definitely get him on. And I think part of the whole reason why the Canadians are having such an overreaction to this Trump joke is the fact that they have a federal election next year. Right? And that guy's going to be running in opposition to Trudeau. So Trudeau has to be sort of a tough guy, even though everybody knows he's a weakling.
Yeah. Well, that guy is a guy that Trump would respect.
Absolutely.
You know, you wouldn't try to annex him. You'd do business with him.
Bingo. Bingo.
Trudeau, you know, not so much.
Nope.
Not
Nope.
so much. Anyway, this whole thing has made us laugh, and we figured it would make you laugh too because it's ongoing. And I can't imagine, you know, if you know anything about Trump, you know it's not going anywhere.
Calling him the governor of Canada, my God. That's
very
just so
funny.
good. So good.
This holiday season, millions of families across America will rely on credit card rewards to visit their loved ones. So why are D.C. politicians trying to pass a bill that would end credit card rewards, making it more expensive for families to be together? The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill is a big government handout to corporate megastores that makes them more money, but eliminates travel rewards for you. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
Back domestically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've had a lot of questions. We raised a lot of questions on this program about the funding
Yes.
of Democrats. And we noted throughout accurately that they have a whole system of nonprofits that have been known to take money from foreign billionaires and then just sort of like launder it through this whole system of 501c4s and whatnot. And like it does electoral benefit for Democrats.
Yeah.
I mean, the extent of which I'm not sure we totally know, but we know the money's in the system.
I mean, it is I think it's fair to call it a elaborate money laundering operation.
Yep.
Because you have money that comes from a Swiss billionaire, Hans-Jörg Weiss,
Yep.
and gets filtered through Arabella Advisors' network of nonprofits and groups that pay groups through all of these grants, that the money gets essentially washed through the system and ends up doing things like funding state ballot initiatives to put abortion on the ballot in a battleground state.
Right.
And it's like, how is it that a Swiss billionaire gets to fund a state ballot initiative?
Right.
It's insane.
And you know who was one of the top 5 donors to Kamala's super PAC?
Who?
Arabella Advisors.
Oh,
That's how they
would you
wash
look
the
at
money.
that?
It's interesting. It's interesting because that is the recipient, right? I mean, that's what we've been talking about all along. You're longtime listeners. You followed along as we've had people come in and talk about their studies and what they found on all of this and the investigations that have basically gone nowhere during a Biden administration. But you never know under a new administration how that thing goes. Well, things have gotten a little bit worse because one of the other advantages that they've had is a huge hard dollar. What I mean by hard dollar is the amount of money that goes directly into campaigns. And Democrats have had a big advantage over that over the last 10 years, basically, because of something called Act Blue, where they all of the left of center nonprofits blow all of their donors into one central spot, and they all have basically an Amazon-like one-click ability to donate to a whole bunch of things. There's a network effect to it, an upsell effect to it. They have a ton of donors all in one spot, and so they've that's where you get, God, who was it? Like John Tester or somebody who raised like $40 million in a quarter.
Right.
Unheard of number for a Senate race.
Right.
Certainly one that the guy was almost surely going to lose.
Right.
And so you start asking questions about that. Well, Speaker Johnson weighed in on this. And he said, breaking. Act Blue was accepting foreign gift cards until September. This is illegal. The House Admin Committee will continue this important investigation into Act Blue next Congress. Our work here is just getting started.
Fantastic.
Bad news for them.
Well, because like the Arabella Advisors' whole scheme, which I would consider, my opinion, is money laundering. I don't know if that's actually technically illegal. I think maybe the Democrats just have very creative lawyers.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I mean, they got a little crazy-ass Mark Elias trying to do elections.
They've been known to color outside the lines and know that they're never going to be brought to account.
Right. But like the Arabella Advisors thing might be a gray area. This is pretty clear.
Yep.
Right.
This is very clear.
Yep.
Right. So now Republicans have not only leadership in the House with House admin, but we will get Kash Patel, and he is going to get to the bottom of it. And you guys remember what Marv Levy said. If it's too hard for them, it's just right for us.
Yep.
Well, it's interesting, right? I mean, it's like hundreds of millions of dollars that are being processed through this outfit, and apparently they had no block whatsoever on foreign gift cards. I don't understand the gift card thing. And my understanding is in Congress right now, and you may see this even by the end of the week, there might be legislation that's passed through there dealing with the gift card component because, you didn't think to have to legislate on how people give money unless it's coming from overseas, like a standard illegal thing.
It's unbelievable. Remember at the beginning of Trump's first term how they just like made up all of this bullshit about Russian interference and foreign interference in our elections, and they literally are taking gift cards from foreign entities to fund Kamala Harris's dumbass.
Yeah. I mean, straight up. And think about it like this. I mean, we know in the run-up to the election that Iran was running a foreign influence operation to defeat Donald Trump.
They not only defeated him, to try to kill him.
Yeah. Right. They were trying to kill him. We know that they had a hit list, Mike Pompeo and others who've been on the program.
Yeah.
But like there would have been nothing for, to stop an Iran, a state actor, from buying hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars of gift cards and funneling it through to Democratic campaigns.
And that's the thing. So, Ashbrook, the greatest irony here is, so the Democrats during Trump's first term were making up all this Russia nonsense. But you see this article, they say the revelation that Act Blue was not blocking foreign gift cards is a potentially significant revelation and ongoing investigation to whether China, Russia, Iran, or Venezuela brought illicit money to Democrat candidates.
This is why we need Kash Patel.
Yep.
He is going to get to the bottom of it.
Can somebody give me a little sense of just the news? What this article is that we're reading from?
I think that's John Solomon's outfit.
Yeah. John Solomon.
This is John Solomon's outfit?
Yeah, exactly. This is John Solomon.
That's all I needed to know.
A Pulitzer winner.
Yeah.
You guys, one of the best investigative reporters in American history. And he's got this outfit, and they are very good at getting to the bottom of things like
this.
It's
fascinating.
They're very well sourced.
It's fascinating. It's also fascinating that something this seismic is just exclusively in just the news. I mean, this is first of all, Speaker of the House tweeted about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that seems significant.
The New York Times isn't going to write
No,
that.
but that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And like Ashbrook can really get in on this. But again, this is news that hurts Democrats tremendously. The revelation that they could be bringing in illegal overseas money to fund their candidates. Of course, CNN's going to. Do you guys want
to make a bet right now?
Yeah.
The first time that the corporate news media writes about this will be in a week, maybe 10 days. It'll be like, well, Republicans they accepted gift cards too.
Yeah.
And like no evidence whatsoever there was foreign gift cards or whatever.
It's just a gift
but
card.
It'll be like in a murky territory that both parties have engaged.
It's he said, she said.
Yeah. Right. And so it like just tries to muddy the water about like where this whole thing is headed.
Dude, that is exactly how they're going to do it.
Yeah, or it'll become a process story about whether, the legislative outcome of this piece of legislation rather than the principle behind it.
Yeah, totally. And like never mind the fact that we've all known that something's fishy.
Yeah.
We've talked about it on Act Blue. Now, we haven't like pointed fingers because honestly, we don't know the answer as to how it is that they have these monumental small dollar cash leads, but they do.
Right.
And there's been plenty of things like circumstantial that have been unearthed over the last few years that show that there are people who never thought they donated, who've been donating tens of thousands of dollars, and like how the heck does that happen?
Yeah, a few months before Election Day, we had that story of where there were journalists going to the houses of like these grandmas, being like, according to Act Blue receipts, you've donated 14,000 times in the past month to this Democrat candidate, and they're like, no, I haven't donated a penny to Democrats.
And then when you get the story from the mainstream media, they find the one person who checked the auto donate button on a Republican thing, and they're like, well, I didn't know that. And they're like, well, Republicans have been practicing predatory it's like they're a goal in the small dollar universe as they cover it. And this has become the lifeblood of how campaigns fund themselves. But the goal is always to try to stop Republicans from catching up to where Democrats are.
Yeah,
like nobody ever asked any of these questions before the advent of a Republican small dollar machine.
Mm-hmm. Right. The collusion between Democrats and the mainstream media is so much more sophisticated than any of us and anybody listening to the show would ever imagine. The journo buddies are in it for the Democrats. And I got to tell you, thank God for Trump. Thank God for Kash Patel, because these guys. Thank God for John Solomon. Yeah. I mean, think about like they're not handing Pulitzer prizes out to normies on a routine basis. He's probably the last normie who actually won a Pulitzer.
Yeah,
and he is getting to the bottom of it, and he is exposing this bullshit in a way that people really want to read about, and it's just like It shows you the absolute need for balance in the media.
If you want, like they keep, they're always asking these like sort of introspective questions. The media I'm talking about after an election like this, where they're like, well, how do we get back to, more balanced? And then they switch around the primetime lineup, or they do whatever. They add like
hire one Republican.
Yeah, they add one Republican who, isn't very fond of Donald Trump or whatever it is. And that's like, okay, now we're set. Like, if you want to know how it is that you actually get back, break this story.
Yep.
Like, don't rely exclusively on conservative media, because this is something that should be in your remit. If your job is to cover campaign finance, and you've just, I don't know, happened to notice a multi-billion-dollar difference over the last 5 years between what Democrats raise and what Republicans raise from $50 or less donors, like, doesn't it occur to you to maybe look into it?
Right.
That's just the way it is.
It's a huge story.
Yeah,
Right.
It's a huge story.
Right. There's this video floating around on the internet with Leslie Stahl from CBS News 60 Minutes sort of whining about the death of legacy media in this country. And the only thing I could think watching that entire thing is like, you did it to yourselves. Mm-hmm. People want information. We say that over and over on our show. They don't want a sermon from a leftist who's trying to like convince them to adopt their worldview.
Yeah.
And this is one of the great, I don't mean to just keep going on here, but this is one of the greatest gifts that Elon Musk has provided for free speech in this country. It's that media is not dominated by the culture in New York.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. For a generation, New York has written and sold every single story that people are supposed to believe in this country. But because of Elon Musk, normal people in flyover country are allowed to say on their own platform, hey, it's not that way for me. It's not that way in my neighborhood. And I think that is the most upsetting thing to these libs in New York.
It's why you listen to the Ruthless Variety program, which we pump our own tires for a minute. That's why you like and subscribe. That's why you're a part of our culture. And there's now, millions and millions of you that have listened to the run up to the election and now what we're going to cover going into 2025. But you're going to hear from everyone that's going to make a difference in not only rooting out stories like this, but like you're going to get to know them personally. You're going to get to know all this stuff right here on the Ruthless Variety program in the next few months. I promise you the content is going to get better than anything you've ever seen on any of the sort of legacy media outlets, 100%. Because one, they want to come in here and talk to us, and two, they know these stories are important and nobody else will cover it.
We should get Speaker Johnson here ASAP, because this story is huge.
We should.
Huge.
We should. I think that's going to happen. So coming up on the Ruthless Variety program, Boot.
Oh,
Boot is back.
Boot Buttigieg. He's got something going. He's not done with politics.
It's very
Believe
funny.
it or not, like the Secretary of Transportation was not the highest arc of his career that he imagined.
Yeah.
And it maybe not exactly what he envisioned with his life and times.
You're telling me that the McKinsey Ivy League grad is ambitious?
Yeah, well, it wasn't just the bread prices, Michael. It wasn't just the bread prices. It turns out he's got a state that he's got his eyes on. Although it may not be a perfect fit. We're going to get to all that right after this.
All right. So I just got to point out that my friends at Americans for Prosperity made a huge difference this year. AFP volunteers made millions of voter contacts, which is absolutely mind-blowing. They are the largest, most effective ground game operation in the country to defend and advance the conservative movement. But now that the election is behind us, the hard work of turning electoral victory into policy wins begins. And the grassroots army with Americans for Prosperity will again be in the thick of it. We have an incredible opportunity next year to get the country back on track, but it means we're all going to have to roll up our sleeves and get to work. If you're ready to join a winning team making a difference across the country, check out my friends at AFP, and you can learn more at americansforprosperity.org.
All right, so Boot. Buttigieg. He moved out of South Bend. He was mayor of South Bend.
He got ran out of there.
He got created such a dump that he had to leave.
Yeah, they were not happy with what he did.
They hated him.
Clear-cut black neighborhoods all over the city.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, the great irony, by the way, is that he was run out of that presidential race by African American people in South Carolina who were like, dude, you are horrible for us.
Well, do you remember? I remember flashback to that election because people forget this, but like his team ahead of South Carolina put out a list of endorsers.
Yeah.
And people on that list were like, I never endorsed you. It was just like they put out a list of all of these African American leaders.
Yes.
And they were like, bro, no. What are you doing?
We never said anything to you about it.
I had forgotten about that.
Yeah.
The racket
What a loser.
continues, and a lot of people with you talking to Democrat circles, like they're just trying to find a way out of this mess. Like they know that they've got a real problem. First of all, like the guy who's number one is not long for this world. Let's be honest. I'm not trying to be crass about it, but like the president is not looking great. Not. So they're kind of like, well, it's the next generation. They look back to the last presidential election, the open primary, and they're like, yeah, Buttigieg. Buttigieg. Anyway, he is moved to Michigan.
Bro's just like searching for where he can run.
Yeah,
He's
right.
the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. He's like, now, how about Michigan?
Yeah, like I have no idea why Michigan. I guess it's relatively close to where but he knows he's not going to win anything in Indiana. So he's like thinking about running for governor of Michigan, right? So like first thing out of the gate, Secretary Pete, I apologize. Now that you're a Michigander, who do the Lions play on Sunday?
What did he say?
He's in a union hall outside Detroit.
Yeah.
And everyone there is skeptical of this fucking clown.
Well, I mean,
And this dude's like, so you're a Michigander? Who are the Lions playing on Sunday?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
So as it turns out, according to CBS News, interesting, the former mayor of South Bend, Indiana, could not provide an answer.
Of course. This is the best season the Lions have had.
Right.
Who knows however long.
If you are a dude who lives in Michigan, you know who the Lions play this week. It's a big game. They play the Bills.
Yeah, the Bills.
They're playing the Bills. It's a big game. They've got, a season like they look like they're a 1 seed. They look like this is a Super Bowl year.
They're playing really well.
Yeah, like you see, you're on that.
I mean, this is a team that has delivered nothing but heartbreak to a city that's been downtrodden for a very long time. So a lot of emotions for Michiganders are invested in the success of this team. I mean, think about the fact that they let go of Stafford and then he goes off and wins a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like they've just had a rough run of luck.
Dude, I would imagine you're at a union meeting and this clown dude rolls up
Yeah.
and like, yeah, I'm going to be your next king.
Yes.
And you're
I'm
like,
here.
who do the Lions play? And he's like, I don't know. How did he not get tarred and feathered immediately?
But listen to how this is like, you can kind of tell how it's shaped within CBS News based upon, like Democrats and with it.
Can't wait for this.
Caught off guard, the former mayor of South Bend in Indiana couldn't provide an answer. Familiarity with the schedule of Detroit's long-suffering but recently soaring football team isn't an official prerequisite for holding statewide
Are
office.
my
you
God,
kidding me?
dude.
Isn't an official
Yeah.
prereq?
Hold on, but this is the next line. But the casual exchange illustrates the challenge Buttigieg may face in proving his connection to Michigan voters, a hurdle some Democrats nevertheless hope he'll take on by entering a crowded governor's race.
Wolf, when you put these together, could I get the name of the journo who writes the articles and their on Twitter? Because whoever is responsible for this
Bullying and humiliation.
should get bullied
Yeah.
and ratioed into the sun. It's not an official prerequisite to know who the Lions are playing. Are you for real,
But
bro?
you just know that Mayor Pete's press secretary called the reporter and said, all I need from you is to include the line that it's not an official prerequisite.
He was
And
like,
they
yes,
were
yes,
like,
please, I will.
yes, sir.
No problem.
Unbelievable.
We work for
Interesting.
you.
I think a pretty funny aside in all of this is like Mayor Pete, he didn't like move to Flint. Or like move to Detroit. He moved up to Traverse City. It'd be like the equivalent of like buying a beach house in Nantucket and being like, I'm going to be senator from Massachusetts. You know what I mean? It's
John Kerry plan.
like Michael Moore, like I'm the everyman union guy. He's got like a $5 million lake house up at Torch Lake in Traverse City. Like it ain't exactly like, blue collar part of Michigan.
I mean, if there's any justice, he's selling insurance by February. You know what I mean? Like, this guy is one of the worst public servants of all time. And it was all just so vanity from the very beginning.
It really
Never
was.
had any answers for anything. I mean, he talks better than most Democrats, sure. And he's got like a personality that's like inoffensive. Which is what Democrats are like, inoffensive. Yeah, that's good because most of us are horribly offensive.
Yeah, right.
His personality is like Ivy League psychopath, is what his personality is.
That's
like,
kinda right.
You know when he walks in the room, okay, this guy went to Harvard. He's going to try to talk to me like he practices in the mirror, like talk to a blue-collar person.
Dude.
Talk about beer.
It's
try to know who the football team is playing. He forgot that part.
He is a McKinsey consultant, right, who speaks corporate boardroom speak in sort of like the smooth brain pablum of Barack Obama. That's what he does.
Yeah.
And that's his pitch to your voter is he just speaks in nothingness and they're like, wow, that was so articulate.
Yeah.
And it's all bullshit.
Nothing offended me.
Like
Yeah.
if Kash Patel ever did a search on Pete's house, there would be like poor and homeless people in the freezer that he chopped up. This guy is a psychopath.
Parody,
we're laughing,
Yeah,
we're laughing. It's
He
all
legit
jokes.
scares me. He's a
Satire.
psychopath. There's nothing behind those eyes.
We're all laughing. We're funny.
full
That's what we do
satire.
here. Well, in a related story, ex-Congressman sex offender Anthony Weiner files for papers to run for city council.
Yes.
Wait, how are those two related?
Psychopaths who don't get a clue.
I'm going to leave it to your imagination. You all recall former Congressman Anthony Weiner. He's starting to plan a political comeback. This will be the third, if I'm not mistaken. Filing paperwork with the city's campaign finance board to run for city council seat in Manhattan's Lower East Side. Weiner went to federal prison in connection to a sexting scandal involving a minor.
Good God.
Remember all that came out at the end of the 2016?
I think that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, 2016
Right.
election, because they were looking for Hillary's emails. They got a hold of Uma's Abedin, who is then his wife.
Yeah, at the time she was.
Yeah.
And Huma Abedin is also Hillary Clinton's right-hand woman. Like, she
However,
controls it.
that was actually part 2. His original sexting
no.
scandal was 2012.
Yeah, I want to get into that for a
Yeah.
minute because I was on the Hill when all that went down.
Amazing.
But this is how ultimately all of you became aware of who Anthony Weiner was because they had her laptop and it turns out like he used her laptop.
He was still doing it.
And he was sending
It was crank shots. to
crank shots.
Crank shots.
LA's,
Yeah.
right?
And here's the beauty of it. When they were investigating him for that is when the Hillary emails came out. That's why the whole Hillary deleting her email, that whole scandal for having a private web server is because they're going through Huma's laptop because Anthony Weiner's using it to sext people. They're like, wait a minute. How does he have access to an email account that's also got access to Hillary's server?
So-
that's how doing a search on
That's
that
legit
laptop
how
is
that went down.
it
So
out.
when you hear Bill Clinton, and he just did this like a couple of weeks ago, and he's got this like folksy way of trying to put everything in context and makes it. He's like the only Democrat who gives you a little inch about like humility about how their party's kind of off track, and so it's kind of compelling, and you listen to it. But then he always slips something in like, well, you know, Jim Comey getting involved in the end of a presidential race in 2016 cost Hillary the presidential election. Not exactly. Like one just sending emails on an unclassified server probably did that. Then deleting all the evidence, that probably did that. Lying to the
Didn't help.
FBI, that maybe did something.
Not a good idea
But
either.
really, then just having your right-hand person married to an absolute psychopath who's sending his dick to like minors at the time, which prompted an investigation that then found a whole treasure trove of things they said that didn't exist. That caused the investigation.
Well, I think we're being a little too hard on Weiner. I think it's big.
Can't be harder on Weiner than Weiner is
we're
on
being,
himself.
I think we're being too hard on Weiner. I think
You
it's.
keep taking a whack at this guy.
I think it's big. Of,
I mean, I know he's a jerk off and all.
I think it's big of Weiner to expose himself to public scrutiny once again.
Look, things have been pretty hard for him. Let me tell you why. So he after the first 2012 sexting scandal, where I guess he had some stripper or something he'd been texting.
Yeah.
And then that becomes public. his wife's like, Huma is like, okay, fine, I'll stick with him.
Yeah.
Hillary is my mentor, and,
So to
and she's
speak.
stuck with the fucking, clown, even though he was doing whatever with women. Then the second time it happens, where now it's minors, right? He goes to federal prison. She files for divorce. Do you know who she's marrying now? George Soros' son.
Oh, I saw that.
So good, dude.
Oh.
So good. It's
I
just
saw that.
So
absolutely
things are pretty
perfect.
hard for Wiener, dude. Now
Yeah.
he's like unhinged.
Right, exploding back onto the
He
scene.
should maybe take a blow from the political arena for a while.
Yeah, it is. Only a true psychopath and malignant narcissist would like have all of this in their past and be like, yeah, the public eye, I'm right for it. You know what I mean?
But Smug, I'm interested in your take on this. The Lower East Side,
Yeah.
that's not exactly hard Scrabble in Manhattan.
So
am I
it used to be in like the 20s and 30s, and now it's just full of hipsters and NYU students. So there's a chance
could get over that.
like as a joke, they're like, well, he's a sicko, I'm a sicko, So there's a chance. I mean, it's not a bad idea. If you're betting on a Democrat that like, I'm a degenerate, maybe degenerates will support me, that's worked for him in the past. I mean, Bill Clinton got reelected, right?
Smart.
So like it is now kind of like a hipsterville kind of place. But this guy, I mean, honestly, like New York politically is in such a messed up place because
Well,
it's
it might
finally
turn to Wiener.
yeah, it's dawned on them that like, so we kept electing idiots, and this city's been run into the ground. Like the fact that New York had a substantial portion of Democrat voters vote for Trump means it's gotten that bad. Like they're sick of seeing like their prices are going up while migrants are being handed Visa gift cards.
Right.
That shit's starting to get to them. So I don't know like how Wiener's going to try to
Well,
triangulate
none
this
of that
situation.
is anything that an impressive Wiener can't clean up. Can I revisit the 2011 thing
Yeah.
for a second? So we were in Congress at the time, and he was kind of a rising star. He was in Democratic leadership. He was a pretty articulate member.
He was a
of-
cable news brawler. I mean, like,
Yeah.
he was a really
MSNBC had
yeah,
a slot from every night.
right.
Yeah. You can think of him as like sort of a left-wing version of what Ron DeSantis is for the right wing, where
Yeah.
every time you see him on cable news, he's just kind of like destroying somebody.
Yeah.
And it's like, they love that. And so he was on his way up, and he was like, anything this guy wanted to do. He wanted to be Speaker of the House, he wanted to be Governor of New York, Mayor of
Sky's
New
the
York
limit.
City. Sky's the limit. And then all of a sudden, I think it was Dana Bash at CNN came across a set of tweets that he had inadvertently sent out, not as DMs, that were like onto his main feed that was just crank shots.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
And he was like, oh, I remember the day this came out because we were all in the Ohio Clock Corridor, which is like right outside the Senate chamber, and all the reporters sort of gather there, and they're like, oh my God. And he's like, no, God. I mean, look, I'm one of many victims in this new technology age. Someone's clearly hacked into my
yeah,
account.
he claimed his phone had been hacked.
Yeah. And like people were skeptical.
He sent that tweet out. He was like, the phone, like, it got hacked, but he was like, the toaster is loyal.
Yeah,
Remember that?
right.
He was like, the toaster would never hack me.
Right. So, but he had a whole bullshit story, and they gave him like a few days because it was like there was a number of Democrats that had similar type stuff, not like this, but like close to that in that era where they're like, I was hacked. Didn't Joy Reid have something like that?
Yeah, she claimed there was a time-traveling transsexual who hacked her website.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's about the lines of what we were
Sometimes,
working with
those
here.
It
hackers.
was like her blog, her personal blog. Yeah, right. Okay.
So then the next like 3-4 days later, and I'm forgetting the exact timeline, but it was a short amount before he ultimately copped to it, was a picture, a crankshot upshot, which captured all of him and his face in the same picture. And it was, I'm not kidding you, one of the funniest days I've ever had on Capitol Hill.
Might I add something? Because I think we need to give Andrew Breitbart his laurels
Yes,
in this.
yes,
Rest in
thank
peace
you.
to that guy, because
Rest in
like
power, King.
conservative media wouldn't be what it is today
Totally
without
agree.
him. He was a complete pioneer and a trailblazer, and I'll never forget this. It's one of the most beautiful things I've seen in conservative politics. But Anthony Weiner was holding that press conference, and he didn't get up into the podium. And Andrew Breitbart walks up there and just starts answering questions because he did all the legwork to communicate
forgot
with the
about
person
that.
who was the recipient of the crank shot.
Yes.
And
What a
none
moment.
of that stuff actually would have gotten out there if it wasn't for Andrew Breitbart.
Yeah,
He
100%.
dude, that is such a wonderful memory. I remember the day that happened. My jaw was on the ground
Yeah.
because like Anthony Weiner calls a press conference and was like, everyone in the world is tuned in. Mm-hmm. He knows every eyeball's up there. Anthony Weiner's team isn't getting to the podium time. Breitbart just gets up there and starts leveling this dude with all the evidence.
God, just a king.
Just a legend.
It was an amazing, amazing moment. I don't think I've ever laughed harder at a very hard job that I had at the moment than that day. Because it was like, oh my God, it's not only the same crank, but it's up now. I got his face in it. You know, it's like you can't deny that.
Can't deny that.
Can't deny that.
Now all the members come. It was a girl like Sydney Leathers that he had been like, texting all that to.
Good memory.
And so then like I
Wow,
want to
that
say
is a good-
it was
yeah.
some Republican outfit that then flew her into town and chases him around on election day while he's trying to go stop to stop. And I remember Huma and him had to run into a McDonald's to get away from Sydney and the reporters with her. And then they go in there, and you see Huma trying to like cover her face in a McDonald's.
Just
She's
the
like,
indignity.
marrying this dude was such a mistake.
Such a bad idea. Such a bad idea. And nobody, and I mean nobody, sends a crank shot without previously sending a crank shot.
And that vignette, that little moment in history, is inextricably tied because of the resurfacing of Weiner to where we are at today. Donald Trump becoming president of the United States. So this long story we're telling you.
former McDonald's employee.
Yeah, former
It's
McDonald's
like the
employee.
domino meme where like Anthony Weiner's up at night sending crank shots.
Right.
And it eventually leads to Donald Trump elected president.
So really, you all have Anthony Weiner to thank for making America great again. And he's back, fellas. All right, so I think that leads to our question of the day. We read two stories there. We are very concerned about the future of the Democratic Party here on the Ruthless Friday program.
Yes.
Is it Boot Buttigieg or is it Anthony Weiner? I don't know. You guys tell us.
So much to choose from.
So much to choose from. You guys tell us. A lot of things to work through there.
Yeah.
A lot of things to work through, but I'm confident you all can do it. All right, so when we come back, we're going to get to your question of the day from last Thursday or Tuesday, which was a good one. Might have been one of our best.
It's a tough one.
Of our best. Would you rather have your daughter on the pole or a Marxist journo? We didn't have an answer here. You've provided it, and I will say it seemed pretty definitive. We'll get to all that right after this. I don't have to tell you Americans are ready for what's next. Moving beyond the hardships of inflation and economic anxiety towards building a future, a better future for our families. Ensuring greater access to more affordable energy that powers daily lives, reliable energy that fuels innovation and economic growth, and the abundant energy that keeps our nation safer and more secure. It's all within our grasp. We'll do this together, building a brighter future for us, powered by America's oil and natural gas resources. You can learn more about all of this at api.org. All right. I hope you enjoyed the previous segment. I know we did. It's kind of what we do here on the Ruthless Friday program. But here we are to read your comments, which I believe is maybe the best question we've ever asked you, the viewer. And you remember, you got to like and subscribe to weigh in on this thing, but many, many of you have. Seems like it's close to consensus. Our question...
It was in light of Taylor Lorenz becoming completely unhinged, being like, actually assassinating people is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joy.
Yeah, and there was a lot of discussion about, like, you know, how you raise your kids. And like,
Would you rather have your daughter on OnlyFans or becoming a commie
That's how it
reporter,
started.
commie journal? Like,
And then we
Taylor Lorenz?
shorthanded it down to, like, the poll or Marxist journal, which is, I think, a good binary choice for all of you.
Tough one.
I got a lot of texts from friends back home.
Yeah, I
about
mean,
this
if you're
one, by the way.
if you're a dude, this is what you aim to do
So it
with
keeps
other
you up at
dudes
night.
at the bar.
No, we've already had this question many times having beers.
Yeah, it's like, you know, stuff that you've already worked through in your head, and like you've got real responses. So to do that, we always start with a voice.
First comment comes from Crystal D. Crystal writes, prefer daughter on the pole or Marxist journo? Either way, I failed as a parent. That's from Crystal D, and I think she captured it.
That I think that's a good way of looking at it. It's a good way
Yeah,
of
it's like
looking
the first. It's like the first stage of grief.
Yeah,
you know,
it's like
Just
it's me.
Yeah.
I'm the problem. It's me. All right, comment two, Doug. What do we got?
This is from Dustin Curtis. Dustin writes, tough question of the day for those of us with daughters.
Tough
have-
job. Tough job.
Look, you noticed that Ashbrook took a long slug of bourbon at that.
3 girls.
3 girls.
I'd have to say journo because it's easier for them to return to normal after the liberal arts degree wears off. I just love how that's the same thing as the OnlyFans account.
We've got good writers.
More importantly, the best offense is a good defense. So I hugged my daughter tonight before bed, told her I was proud of her, and reminded her to keep the faith, hold the line, and own the loves.
That's important. That's important.
Our
That's
audience.
the best way to get through it.
Yeah.
That is, if you know anything about being a parent,
Yeah.
that's the funniest 1-2 combo of all time. It's like you got to be present, make sure that they love you, make sure they know you love them.
Yeah.
Because that's how you keep somebody off the pole, and then add some lib comment. You keep off the thing. Well, hopefully, we can avoid both situations.
Our audience can write.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
Everything is so authentic with them,
Dustin,
and everything
very
is
funny.
so good.
Very funny.
Oh, comment 3. This is a good one. This is from Timothy Britt. Timothy writes, guys, first thing, asking the question about choices for my daughter is like asking this. Would you rather have Kamala or Liz Cheney be president? Oh, man. Seriously.
It's worse than that.
Thank you for what you do. I have a short metro commute from Cleveland Park to the Smithsonian, and your show keeps me entertained twice a week on both legs. Love what you do. Keep up the great work. P.S. Where do us conservatives hang out in the D.C. area? Good question.
That is a good question.
The White House in about a month.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have a better answer for you in about 30 calendar days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we will have. And try,
And wherever that is, we will be there.
maybe we'll work on something.
With bells on.
You know,
Maybe we'll work on
that reminds
something.
me, I don't think I brought this up to you, gentlemen. So I heard a hot tip that Elon has rented out a bar for the entire month of January for when the festivities get underway. I'll get on top of that. Maybe we could report live from it.
Yeah, I heard.
Shh, don't now the goddamn libs are going to show
Look what
up.
you've done.
We'll bleep it.
Yeah. That's what we'll do in post.
Yeah,
Can we bleep that
Can
in
we
post?
get a hard
So,
bleep?
so Duncan did know the secret conservative location.
Yeah.
It's very good that we didn't say that out loud. Okay. I'd be remiss before I exit this segment to say that these were 3 incredibly well-calibrated responses that I think can resonate across a broad cross-section of America. I read every one of them. I want to say it was about 97% in favor of the poll.
Nice.
That tells you the state of journalism. One of them's an honest living, and one isn't.
Honestly,
One-
that's what
yeah.
many of them said.
It comes down to which is more degrading.
Yeah.
And which has some integrity.
No, I'm dead serious. That was it. And the explanations that I read in a lot of these were like, oh, God, they make a really good point. The poll is a far more significant way to make a living. An entrepreneur in a lot of ways.
It helps some men.
You know?
Journalism helps no one.
So anyway,
Helps
that's
no
across that.
one.
But I felt obligated to tell you that, like, just in case you were the one that came down on the side of the poll, you got about 97% that agree with you.
This is the best episode.
All right, fellas, if we haven't had enough fun, let's play a game.
Let's play a game.
Yeah, we got King of the Hill back today for Thursday, and I am the challenger.
Yes.
I'm very excited about this. I'm bringing a new flavor to the
Ooh,
game.
I love this.
We haven't played him before.
Oh, gosh.
But he's a real,
new
brawl.
character.
Yeah, I mean, a never Trump brawler.
Are you
on-
flat-footing the ring announcer?
No,
with this?
no. I previewed with him.
Okay.
I don't know where he's going to go.
Who is it again?
Ron Filipowski.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That clown.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what, you're judge this week, right, Home?
Yeah, I'm judge. You know how I do it. Iron fist and everything else.
Right down the middle. Fair and square.
Yeah, I appreciate it. With all of that, let's go ringside.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. It's time for King of the Hill. In the red corner, fighting out of who knows where. Ron Philippa, can't say his name anyway, Kowski. And now, in the blue corner, fighting from her own Twitter account, the Queen and current champion of the world, Kami Cherry Jacobus.
I mean, Cherry
Always a
Jacobus
tough
has had
matchup.
a run.
All of it.
She's been just killing it.
He's just the
Always
cheat
tough.
code.
What's the background of this Filipowski guy?
So he works for one of those grift outfits. Is it like Midas Touch? or
Midas
something?
Touch. He works for
was
Midas
he
Touch.
was he a former conservative?
Yeah, he was like a Republican lawyer in Florida, I believe.
Oh, jeez. Okay. All right. Well, he qualifies then.
Yeah.
Well qualified.
We did the research.
Yeah. No, I
Because
appreciate it.
I had that same question when Spaghettis was out there looking for.
I've seen his stuff, and I
Yeah.
never imagined that came from the right at any
Can you
point.
believe it?
Yeah.
Which is, we may have something new here.
Yes. Round one goes to you.
Champion?
Yeah, champion.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, for this spaghettis, let's go to Exhibit 8 and just start off strong here. You have a picture of Cherry Jacobus and a couple of other compatriots. She writes, after a champagne brunch,
Oh, God.
we're the only ones in the theater for 3D Wicked.
Bro.
With an exclamation mark outside of the quote. Cherry Jacobus, ladies and gentlemen, went to see Wicked with two of her friends.
That is
Right after a
exactly the
champagne
crowd
brunch.
you would imagine after getting boozed up.
Can I get that up one more time?
Like, it's time to get boozed up at brunch and go see Wicked. And,
And
that's the theater I imagine.
Yeah,
that's the crew.
She wanted everybody to know that they were the only ones who were there.
I also noticed traffic's down a touch.
Yeah. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, I appreciate that the numbers are up there.
Traffic's down a touch.
Numbers not doing what they used to.
Yeah, everybody's over in Blue Sky now.
And this was posted in the middle of the day. So,
Well,
you
when
know,
else do you having brunch? You having it around dinner time, Ashbrook? Of course,
Oh.
it's middle of the day.
Well, that is brunch. That's self-evident. Okay. But it is a drinking afternoon.
Seems kind of mid. Let's see what you got, Duncan.
Thank you, Smug.
I love that the bailiff is just chiming in.
I was going to editorialize, but that is now unnecessary. So I'm just going to go ahead and steal this round. This needs a little bit of a setup here, and that is, Kimberly Guilfoyle's going to be ambassador to Greece. So that is the context of this. Exhibit number 14, please, spaghettis. Ron writes, Stormy got $130K for 5 seconds, and Kim got an ambassadorship for 5 years. Brutally hard, number one. Sexist, I might say. And then also, Stormy Daniels owes Donald Trump like $500,000, by the way.
Also, how does he know it's 5 seconds?
Yeah. Have you seen Donald Trump's stamina?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just he denies all allegations, as he should,
Yes.
because until proven otherwise, take
Yeah.
his word for it. That seems like some editorialization coloring outside the lines, if you will.
I appreciate him as a new competitor because he does do this pithy thing very well.
Yeah.
Although he got all of the facts wrong, as they often do.
Yeah.
And he didn't go to Wicked after brunch with two other nondescript
Yeah, but
libs.
that's the cultural side of Sherry My Sherry. She does plenty of stuff with the cats and the sadness,
Cats in the sand.
But as far as political content goes,
Listen,
I don't think you can beat my take.
Cats and Sadness is pretty funny.
Let me just say this, because I know a little bit of something about, the Kimberly Guilfoyle situation, and I don't know what's going on with her relationship with Don Jr. I don't care. This is somebody who for years has committed an inordinate amount of time to try to elect Donald Trump president. Met with basically everybody you can meet with, tried to raise as much money as she could, worked her tail off. I mean, there's nobody that you look at in terms of what, ambassadorships are usually sort of a reward to a country that somebody particularly cares about that has done an awful lot.
Yeah.
And then can do a job and represent the country. She's obviously well-spoken and can figure all that out, so that piece of it takes care of itself. But, I would argue there's not a lot of humans who have done more.
And Ron reduces it to just like this porn star.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I mean, that
And he's a Democrat.
That's the thing.
for that reason, and I'm sympathetic to the Wicked midday brunch because that's all she's got going. And I was thinking I was headed there, but I think she's got this. I think this
Let's
is
go.
Filipowski with his
Man.
first ever round win.
Stealing the first round is big in this game.
Also,
you love to see
ambassadorship
it.
to Greece is a great gig.
It's a great gig, but honestly,
Greek food is the best.
I don't
It
care
is.
what you
I
think.
would never leave the beach.
I actually don't care what you think about Kimberly Guilfoyle. She's inarguably earned consideration for a spot like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's a very odd thing
If
to
you look at who becomes ambassadors of countries, number one, I would say, is loyalty and helping elect the person to pick you.
Totally.
She's got that in spades.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Round 2, I have to go first. This one's great. Spaghetti, can I get exhibit number 12, please? Ron writes, virtually every question today at the White House press briefing was about the Hunter pardon, as if that is the thing the American people care about most right now.
Wow.
The D.C. press is so disconnected from the American public and serves them poorly more often than not.
You're gonna have to bring a lot of game here. And Sherry's capable of it, but that is an amazing take.
I would just want to point out the metrics there. He got 2,400 retweets on that.
Wow.
I love Libs being like, yes, the press is the enemy. It's like, oh.
They're asking questions that have no bearing on the national interest of the American public. Weird. I can't believe that would take over a single press conference, let alone 4 fucking years of a presidency.
Right.
All it took was getting smoked in a landslide because now they're like, wait, the journals actually do suck ass.
Okay, what do we got from Sherry?
Spaghetti Exhibit 7, please, where my Cherry writes, there is nothing that Elon Musk has done in his entire life that should make anyone believe he has the best interest of the United States at heart. Not a damn thing.
Wow. Oh my God.
Let the pillaging begin. I'll block, hide, and then cut off his fake bots and trolls that will reply to this.
That is so strong.
No,
that is so strong.
I'm sorry. That was an awesome Filipowski tweet, but that's a no-brainer. That's Sherry coming right back to tie this thing up.
Judge, I actually agree with you on that. What I appreciate the most about Sherry, and I know I'm arguing against my position here, but what a gamer. That she's staying on Twitter and is like, I will block and hide all bots from Elon. That is somebody addicted to the game.
And she's like, I'm going to drop a take so shit that I'm going to get so many people telling me I'm an idiot, and you're all bots, and I'm blocking all of you. You will not stop me from saying dumb shit.
The guy's literally landing rockets on top of a thing upside down.
Saving
and she's
astronauts.
Like, he's never done anything.
Due to saving astronauts, providing internet service to victims of the storm in Western North Carolina. She's like, he's done nothing for
Never done
America.
anything. Never done anything. That's such a wild take. Even if you ideologically disagree with the X thing, she's still on X doing it, which is the irony of that in and of itself. It's amazing.
It's great.
Oh God. Okay. All right. What do we got for round 3?
Exhibit 6, please, Spaghetti. In the wake of the murder of an executive from an insurance company, Cherry Jacobus tweets, last year, the 7 largest private health insurers collected $1.39 trillion in profit. Their business model is to let you die so they make bigger profit. Medicare for all, it's time. This is a former Republican talking about Medicare for all. She's gone from Republican to Bernie Sanders, and she reminds people of her lunacy in the wake of a murder so she can surf off of the left-wing plaudits from this guy's demise, and it is one of the sickest things I've seen from anybody on Twitter.
It is. And that's the thing is,
and that's Cherry Jacobus.
Especially in light of all these journos who've been like, yes, assassination is good. And the Attila Lorenz take of being like, I felt joy when he was murdered. They love this because all that it would enable is their sentiment that they can take by force everything you have, and they're justified in it. It's the centerpiece of all this Marxist nonsense.
That's exactly right.
And for a, quote, former Republican to be putting that out.
Right. Taylor Lorenz and all the Antifa people on Twitter who have long been Bernie Sanders acolytes are one thing. A former Republican is quite another.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
my turn.
It's a very strong take.
Let's hear it.
Okay. I think this is an important take because it encapsulates the entire ethos of the Never Trump movement, and that is they will tell you very publicly that they believe in nothing. Spaghetti exhibit number 13, please. I just love this so much. One thing I actually learned from covering Trump the last 4 years is how to blame every problem in America and the world on the American president. I fully intend to apply what I learned over the next 4 years.
Amazing.
It's like walking into a bank and calling the cops and being like, I intend to rob this bank.
I'm doing it. Deliberate.
Yeah, I am going to be full of shit the next 4 years, and I just want to tell you, I'm doing that deliberate.
It's incredible. Like, Trump really, really broke these people.
Broke them.
Like, fundamentally, they are now messed up mentally, like mental disorder basket cases.
It's a very strong take, but it is not a former Republican aligning with Antifa over the cause of a murder.
I mean, that's a tough choice for you, Judge. I mean,
I have to do just a touch, if you wouldn't mind, just carrying on the conversation for a minute. I have to go into Chambers and check one thing, because there's one thing that would render a verdict if I can find it.
so here's my thinking. I think the central point to be made here is the argument is between grifting. Who is the biggest absolute grifter?
Right.
We've seen the never Trump grifting that folks like Ron Filipowski have done, where it was like Duncan said, they are nihilists. They believe in absolutely nothing.
He's basically saying in there, like, I am open for business. Whatever you want me to say, I will blame Trump for it. Whether it's Medicare for all or whatever. It's like, he's like, I'll do anything.
And then you've got Sherry's level of grifting, which is like, this is supposedly someone who's a never Trumper because they're like a principled conservative, now calling for the murder of executives and Medicare for all.
There is no contestant that is going to approach anywhere the level of brainworms of Sherry My Sherry. I humbly beseech this court to find that there's a nuance that is provided by Filipowski's tweets that I think are fundamental to the game.
What Sherry is doing is saying that I was a Republican and now I'm ready to start a new community in Portland and burn down the federal courthouse. That's what she's saying.
Sherry
All
live from
because-
Chaz being
all
like,
because somebody was murdered.
Objection. This is hearsay, far beyond the context of the tweet.
It's beyond the scope. It's beyond the scope. The court will rule of that. I want to say that I've taken this under extreme advisement, and I've thought about this deeply. I did some research back in Chambers, and I was prepared to not only rule for Sherry Masheri, but enthusiastically rule in support of what is one of the craziest things that I've seen in the same week as an assassination of a CEO of a healthcare company. What I'm lacking is the evidence to support that she has had a differing opinion. And what I looked for, because this is a former Republican
you did the research,
who looked
He's looking for precedent.
and had a contributorship public, was somebody who spoke from the heart against Barack Obama during the Obamacare years. I could not find on my brief 3 minutes of research a quote that corroborated a long-held view that the American healthcare system was in fact in high regard as a market-based system. Now, it may very well exist, but I don't feel like counsel has provided that for me.
Interesting.
And in lieu of a lack of evidence, I'm going to have to give the first victory to Filipowski.
You're a brilliant jurist.
That was well thought.
Yes.
That was an incredible matchup.
I thought all I would do is Google her name in public option, and I was going to get just a myriad of stuff, and there could be something in there, but on the first page in the time allotted, I couldn't find it. I was working to try to find justice, and in this case, it was just sheerly a lack of presentation in front of this judge and jury.
Well, Your Honor, very, very intelligent decision as usual. What I can tell you is Cherry will be back.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
We know.
There's no doubt. And for some reason, Smash always has the Sherry.
Well, because she gets like a cool-off period, and then he's up again, and he takes her.
I mean, he also presents her stuff great.
Her crown continues to shine. Every single ruby at every peak.
But just remember, Bluesky.
Blue Sky, yeah.
Yeah, Bluesky is still available now
admissible.
because of an important ruling by Justice Smug.
Yeah.
It's available.
Maybe Ruben will come and
I need spaghetti to think about that a little bit. We got one more little piece of the puzzle.
Important one.
Look, we spoke a lot, I think, going into the Olympics about Caitlin Clark, about this like bizarre media environment where she was like castigated and made to be something that she wasn't. WNBA and all the politics that went into that nonsense. People sort of held her out as a hero of somebody who's just not going to get into that social nonsense. And Smug, you took some offense of something that she did this
Yep.
week.
So I have some very terrible news about Caitlin Clark. She's gone woke, folks. So, like we said, as men for almost, it feels like a decade, have been crying with the ESPN thing. It's like, I just want to watch sports. I don't want any of this woke nonsense. I don't want politics. I watch sports to try to get my mind off anything and just see competition. And, I think Caitlin Clark for some time was emblematic of that, where she's not weighing in, she's not taking a knee, she's not bowing during the national anthem, any of this kind of nonsense. And she was also getting it from other players. You had like Angel Reese, who was clearly jealous of Caitlin Clark, who is a superior player, was getting attention, and Angel Reese took offense to that. And then there would be all these stories of how, like, is Caitlin Clark a white supremacist? Because she exists.
Yeah.
And then Caitlin Clark's reaction to this, because I think she was like Times Athlete of the Year.
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark went completely woke and was like, this is a direct quote from her. I want to say I've earned every single thing, but as a white person, there is privilege. A lot of those players in the league that have been really good have been black players. This league has kind of been built on them. The more we can appreciate that, highlight that, talk about that, and then continue to have brands and companies invest in those players that have made this league incredible, I think it's very important. I have to continue to try to change that. The more we can elevate black women, that's going to be a beautiful thing.
Nobody
Why?
ever made it about
No one asked you about this, number one. Number two, I saw charts on Twitter the other day. It's something like 65% of WNBA players are black women. What do you need to elevate 65% of the player base in this game? To say you have privilege when she gets flagrantly fouled more than any player in the WNBA because of the jealousy she feels. And this enrages me so much. I replied to Megyn Kelly, who went in on Caitlin Clark rightly. I replied to Megyn Kelly, it's like Caitlin Clark was asleep on election night and thinks
Yeah, we
that
still have
shit
to do
still
this.
flies. It's over.
Yeah.
The era of this woke garbage is over.
That's the weirdest part about it, Smug, is for whatever reason, she still feels like she has to pay the indulgences to this system that was defeated on election day. And I don't know why that is.
I think it's
A system that was against her from day one.
Day one.
Despite the fact that like she's responsible for not only an incredible growth of the sport, dude, they're selling out stadiums for her road games. She goes to another city and the place sells out to see her.
And that's what anyone listening to this, don't go see her games anymore. Don't see her games. Don't buy her jersey. Don't tell your kids about her. Don't do any of that, because there has to be a price to pay. This country has suffered so much against this because of this race baiting nonsense that the left has pushed to divide and conquer Americans, being like, your skin color is this, it means you're evil colonizer. Your skin color is this, which means that you're oppressed and there's no chance for you. So you have to just do whatever Democrats want. Just vote for us and we will take care of you. That nonsense just divided this country.
Yep.
Pit Americans against each other
No,
for
I think
so
you're right
long.
about a
And
lot of
it's-
that.
We have to make a person pay a cost if they want to further that system.
I think
Caitlin
it's-
Clark
I
should be
think it's
banished.
look, I think it's complicated with Caitlin Clark.
No, she's got to go.
No, I understand and I totally appreciate your position on it. The reason it offends me is because of the discussion that we had with Wesley when he was here, and like when we grew up, this wasn't what we taught. We didn't differentiate between Kirby Puckett and Tim Laudner on the Minnesota Twins in 1987. Like Kirby Puckett was the best player. He was my hero. I didn't think if he was black or white, and this has just become a thing that the woke left has created to put people into a place where the question is even asked, let alone answered by a professional athlete. Got to get away from that. This election was a huge repudiation to that outlook of America. I also think about it from her perspective and somebody who is quite more, honestly, the most talented basketball player, left off the Olympic squad, fouled flagrantly. Her place of work is a hostile spot. And like nothing's going to change that for her. And like if you internalize that from your own perspective of what that looks like, I mean, I can understand how you can make a mistake in this area. I don't agree with it.
Yeah, she has teammates, right? Like she's,
I get it. I'm not. And look, if it's all about principle all day, every day, you're not going to work anywhere very long because people are going to throw your ass out because you can't get along with anybody or whatever else. Principle's the wrong word, but if it's all about your sort of ideology, but I do think this was a big mistake. And I think she had the opportunity to rise above, to do what we were talking about with Wesley, which is like, I just don't look at the world that way.
Yeah.
Right.
And instead of saying the black players by which this league was built upon, the players by
Bingo.
which this league was built upon. And everyone would know what it is that you're talking about. What the color of their skin matters not.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. And that's the reason I think that probably made you so incensed.
And here's the problem is it's never enough for that mob. If she thinks she's going to get less flagrantly fouled, if she thinks now they're going to be nice to me, the mob does not respect anyone who kneels to them.
Yeah, they're not gonna
They
come.
always ask for more. It's never enough for them. And so I'm sick of her. She should be boycotted. I can't stand her. Horrible person.
I don't think you're going to get Ashbrook's daughters on board with that, but I appreciate the sentiment.
yeah, I think she's also done a lot for women in athletics. And
Now she's going to set it all back.
I think this is look, athletes make mistakes. And I think, 3 years from now, she'd look back on this and be like, that was not the right call. And I want to give somebody an opportunity to look back on stuff.
Who was the NASCAR driver she endorsed? Trump, was it Danica Keller? Was that her?
Danica Patrick.
Danica Patrick? There's an idol for your daughters right there.
She is great.
She is a great. She is.
There you go.
I'm not
We don't
going to
need
argue with
Caitlin
that.
Clark.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with that. It's all a good point. It's a good point of discussion. I know that people are talking about it, which is why the Ruthless Variety Program talks about
Cash
it.
Patel, if you're listening, jail Caitlin Clark.
So remember our question of the day: Wiener, Buttigieg.
Yeah.
Does Boot have? Is he the way back? Is Wiener?
the future of that
Who's the future of the Democratic Party?
The psychopath or the degenerate?
Yeah, it's like
It's tough. Usually with the Dem, you get both.
it's a binary choice here on the Variety Program. You tell us your best argument, and we'll go with it.
Yeah.
Next Tuesday, which will be our next program. With all of that, this has been a very fun program, fellas. I'm glad we did it. You got to subscribe, like, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out all of our merch while you're there. You got some Christmas gifts coming your way. And with that, I think we did it.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode. Gentlemen, thank you so much to the Minions. It's clear you've been sharing it with your friends. We keep seeing our subscriber numbers go up. So, until next time, Minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you on Tuesday. Stay ruthless.